Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at The Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land, another time.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I have a mission, and it's really about creating a social movement. It's about helping people unlock these messages that have gotten into their subconscious mind, which then create a belief that create the habits then that we do and the actions that we take, and helping people uncover where that happens so that they can then experience freedom, whether that's financial freedom, whether that's freedom in the work that they do. And I tend to focus with entrepreneurs to help them step into their favorite selves. And not only that, but then also, how do they make a business successful? So with that, this is another episode. This month in February, I am going to focus on this idea of the law of vibration and really focusing in on the law of attraction and the law of inspired action. Because in order for things to take place, we have to have the desire, the attraction, and the inspired action. So this is part one. And then listen in a couple weeks and hear part two of this. But I want to review with you because these universal laws are so important. And in some cases, for those of you that have a faith base, they're pretty biblical. For those of you that don't, they map up to a lot of the other religions. And if you're not religious, and I hate that word, by the way, but if you're not someone of faith-based, that's okay too. They're scientific. So it's kind of all inclusive. So when you think about this law of vibration says basically that nothing is at rest. So even my coffee mug that seems solid is not, it's movement. There is energy within that substance that it's hardened, but there is energy within that. So everything moves and everything has a particular frequency, and that includes us as people too. So if you think about this, before I go into the next section of this, I want you to think about vibration, and it's not all woo, but I want you to think about, have you ever talked to someone on the phone or been in person with someone and their energy just automatically made your energy get larger, right? Like you left that situation feeling energized. And it wasn't because you're extrovert or introvert. That's not what I'm talking about. But just being around that person inspired you. It created creativity within you, and it helped you kind of rise up in your own energy level. My hope is that all of you have had that experience before, because if you haven't, that makes me really sad. We should have people around us that do that for us. And we should be doing that for other people too. So the other piece of that is how many of you have ever talked to someone that, and I'm not talking about like there's a tragedy that's happened or something of that nature. What I'm talking about is someone that consistently looks at the negative. So it's this glass half empty, glass half full concept in a way. And when somebody's consistently looking at the glass as half empty, it creates a lower vibrational energy. And what I found is then I tend to leave those situations, and I today do things a little differently than in the past, but in the past, I would leave those situations feeling kind of drained from the conversation, or, it put me into a mood of kind of, I don't know, when I look outside and it's kind of dreary where I'm at, kind of a dreary mood. And so that's an example from an application perspective of where you might have experienced the law of vibration and not even really realized it. So everything does vibrate at a frequency. And, there are also playlists out there that provide vibrations based on certain megahertz that will calm your parasympathetic, they have chakra clearing ones, all sorts of them. So, if you're interested in kind of hearing more about that, go out to Spotify or to wherever you listen to music and just search for some of that. It's pretty interesting. I like to use it when I get creative. So everything moves, everything has a certain frequency. And so when you think about ourselves as having a frequency, and here's the key, it's really important to look with the lens of curiosity and not beat ourselves up if we're having a little bit lower vibrational day. The key is to identify what you want your vibrational energy to be, because what we focus on gets bigger. So I will tell you, it took me many years to realize I kind of got this, and I'm gonna throw my dad under the bus here for a second, from my dad, because he does this and I've noticed this, that something is going fantastic and he'll say the only bad thing about this is, and I used to say that a lot. Like I would be in this great situation and I'm like, oh, the only bad thing about this, like skiing yesterday, one of the few days that I've been able to go, I was up there and I could have very easily said, oh, the worst thing about this is X, Y, and Z, right? Never mind that we had a blast, the sun was shining, I got a little sunburn on my nose, like all of these good things. The old me would have pointed that out very quickly, where now it's kind of like the best thing. And you heard me kind of start to go that way. Like the best thing about this is that we were up and it was a bluebird day. And yeah, the runs weren't awesome, but they were good. It wasn't bad. And so it's about like shifting even how we look at things and what we look at. And sometimes, as overused as this is, I'm going to throw this out there. If you're wanting to raise your vibrational energy, start practicing gratitude. Write down, I had a friend, I have the pad, it's sitting over here, that gave me this little pad, even as a reminder of like, what am I grateful for? What are my wins? Those things that keep us in that gain thinking and not in the gap. So from a vibrational perspective, I'm giving you a lot of like applications where you can raise your vibration, but also where you might have seen it happen within your life. Now, what happens though is when we're vibrating at a certain level, we become aware of and attract other things that are vibrating at the same level. So have you ever been in those situations? And I've heard people say, oh, it's like a Monday for me, right? Like I love Mondays actually. But where like one thing happened and it kind of threw you off, and then another thing happened and it threw you off, and another thing, and it just keeps stacking up, it feels like. That's because your vibrational energy is staying in that area. And so what happens is that we vibrate at this level, and only those things that are in the same harmony of that vibration is what we become aware of and what we then attract to us. So if you want to attract other things, you have to then, well, you don't have to, you choose to vibrate at a different level. So when you think about, and one of the easiest ways that I tap into raising my vibrational level is I think about the love. Now, I love my child, don't get me wrong, but I think about the love that I have for my grandson, and it like completely swells my heart. I like, oh, I just get into this, and it's just like juicy, right? Like I just love this kid. And I'd jump in front of a bus for my son, but I would jump in front of two buses for my grandson. Now, that kind of sounded bad. I'd jump in front of two buses for my son and daughter-in-law too, but you get the point, right? Like it's like I'm thinking about something that just brings me into my heart level and that I'm so grateful for and I'm so happy about. And that immediately starts to change my vibration. That's that exact thing that I'm talking about, where what you focus on gets bigger, and the whole idea of gratitude. And, I was talking to a client yesterday and we were uncovering some things that, like, even statements that we can make statements. And then I always like to ask the question, is that true? If I'm in a negative or lower vibration and I say, oh, I don't have a lot of people around me that love me, I have to step back and go, is that really true? No, it's not true, right? And although sometimes it can feel a certain way, so I don't want to discredit the feeling, but then it's about uncovering with the lens of curiosity and not judging yourself where those feelings are coming from. So when we think about this idea of vibration, this then gets into, as I'm talking about this attraction, not only actions or things that happen to us, and it's actually happening for us, because when we think that it's happening to us, that puts us into kind of a victim mode because we are the co-creators of our lives. And so when we think then about this law of attraction, we're attracted and magnetized to things that are vibrating at the same frequency. Let's face it, sometimes as an entrepreneur and a business leader, we need some guidance, support, and community. So we here at The Lit Up Life have 3 ways that you can work with us in order to achieve that. As a private client, we work together to quantum leap your business by discovering strategies to help you move past what's holding you back and allow you to identify what you want your life to look like. The result? Your business becomes the conduit to the lifestyle, success, and impact that you intend. Now, I'm a huge believer in the power of collaboration. So in our community masterminds, you can join in with other high vibrational business owners who want to level up, increase impact, and financial gain, all with a tribe of other women to support and encourage you on your journey. Currently, we're accepting application for this women's mastermind group, which is a year-long program for women in business who are ready for that next level of success. We create deep personal awareness in a safe and supportive space where you can experience growth with others who are on that same path. Through weekly sessions with our program coaches, teachings that go beyond the buzzwords, and immersive retreats in places like Mexico, the Dominican Republic, or Belize, we work together to create long-term abundance and lasting impact in your life and business. The last and final way to get involved with us is our group coaching programs. They provide the opportunity for teaching, masterminding, and feeling like you aren't alone on this ride. Come join us. So let's get into more about this idea of attracting those things that are vibrating at the same frequency that we're vibrating at, because this is about ideas. This is about opportunities that are out there. This is about people, circumstances. It's about our thoughts, our feelings. It's about even material items. So, I have a friend that she always looks for a parking space, and she attributes it to a good friend of hers that passed away, but she's attracting, and every time I'm with her, and she says 90% of the time she finds a really good parking space because she's putting out this vibration of desire. And like we always get what the universe is providing to us. And in some cases, like I was talking to someone just this morning about the fact that I was a little irritated with the universe, but it sounds kind of silly because I'm getting exactly what I wanted. But in the meantime, I'm needing to grow, and I have a growth engine. I'm needing to continue to raise my vibration to be there. And so I'm not really mad, but it's this growth opportunity, right? And I know what's on the other side of it, and that's exciting. And that's when you focus that way, then that's when this vibrational energy changes. So when we have these thoughts or these ideas, like I'm going to give you an example. I've had thoughts before that I thought, oh, and some of this is foresight, but I know that if I don't go put this right here in front of the front door, I'm going to forget it. Well, guess what happens? I forget it, right? Because I'm attracting that or manifesting that to happen, versus at that point in time when I said that, I'm now taking inspired action and just going and doing it when I think about it. So not to get too far into the inspired action piece of it. So this law of attraction, many of you may have heard of or seen the movie The Secret, the little documentary kind of thing, or read the book. It's good, don't get me wrong. The one thing, and there is a mention of it, but it's very slight, is this idea of when we're attracting something, there is inspired action that needs to take place. Now, before the inspired action takes place, though, we have to believe it. And I know I've fallen prey to this before, where I have this desire, I really want it to happen, but then my belief isn't wholehearted. When you think about, let's just go here. When you think about going through the drive-through or walking into a Starbucks and you place an order. Now, regardless of whether or not you like Starbucks, just play with me here because I'm not a super fan of their coffee. But that aside, you walk into your local coffee shop or to a Starbucks, like you just believe and know that you're going to get what you ordered and that it's going to be consistent, right? People used to use McDonald's as the example, right? Like there's a consistency around what you're going to get. You just believe that. That's the type of belief actually that I'm talking about. Like if you have a big, hairy, audacious goal and you have doubts coming up and those little gremlins that come up, it's important to work through those. I call those loyalty packs and double binds. There's things that stop us from then moving forward into what it is that we truly desire, whether that's, oh, I'm not really good enough to do this. I don't have enough knowledge, so I need to take another class to go do this. I'm not worth the money. Why would someone want to pay money to coach with me? Like all of these little gremlins that get in our head then create disbelief. And the really cool thing is the universal law of polarity says if you have disbelief, the opposite of that is belief. And they're both there at the same time. We just have to choose which one we're going to believe in, right? And for me, now don't get me wrong, I struggle with this too. And we have so many programmed thoughts in our subconscious, and sometimes we're conscious of it as well. But in the idea of then making the choice to truly believe, and we can truly believe something. I was working with my coach the other day. Yes, I'm a coach and I also have a coach because we get too close to our stuff. And I was saying, I feel like at the cellular level that I am doing what I am called to do. Like I have this calling that I know to the depth of my bones and my cells that I am in the right place, doing the work that I am meant to do, that's in my DNA. And she asked me, she said, yeah, but have you accepted this calling? Right. Which is an example of the law of attraction. I was resisting, which is why then asking for what I wanted and I was getting it, I was irritated because I hadn't completely accepted and surrendered to this call. So when you think about vibration, you think about attraction. I want you to think about what is it that you really want? And if you find yourself filtering and changing it, make note of that. Don't beat yourself up about it, but make note of it because that means somewhere you have a belief in your subconscious that started out as a message from somewhere. And I talk about these messages a lot in different places, but an example of some of them are this messes with entrepreneurs and people with corporate jobs to no end. How many times have you heard when you were growing up, finish your chores or finish your homework before you played? Well, we have a lot of people out there right now that are so stressed out because it's been a long time since they played. Now, there's a lot of people that play too, and I'm all for that. And so that's why skiing is so important to me because it's an area where I feel like really alive, right? So it's important to play, but understanding that that message, then we feel like we have to get all the work done. And I don't care if you're working for corporate or for yourself, the list is never done. Even if you're working at home and you are raising your family, the list is never done. That's one of the things I hate about laundry. I can't ever check it off my list because it continues. So the point being is that look at like that message because we're attracting based on those beliefs that have come into, well, they're not beliefs, the messages that have come into our subconscious brain that turn into a belief. So anywhere you see yourself starting to believe something that's in a lower vibrational energy, and if you want to learn more about the levels that are in vibrational energy, just Google it. It's everywhere. And there's even like a law of attraction binder that shows you some of the stuff. But it's about then realizing what vibration do I want to be at? And you'll get to the point too that you'll start to do things to keep yourself in a higher vibrational level. The other thing my coach and I looked at is we're like, okay, there are certain foods that I eat that lower my vibrational energy, that I don't feel as good. When I drink, I don't feel as good the next day. I don't have the same level of energy, and it just lowers it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have a glass of wine every once in a while or a glass of champagne, but the point being is then I'm making a conscious choice, right? So I'm giving you a lot. I'm setting this up then to talk about next this idea of inspired action and how that plays into this law of vibration. We'll talk a little bit about the law of subconscious momentum and the law of praise as well. We've already talked a little bit about the law of praise, which is about gratitude. So with that, folks, it's a wrap. We'll see you the next time to dig in further to this whole idea of how do I attract what I want? So with that, have a fantastic week and we'll talk to you soon. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.